Iowa and big whitetail. It's hard to find a more synonymous pair in the hunting industry than that. Iowa is the gold standard, with hunters waiting years for a tag. In April of 2023, I was presented with the opportunity to move to the promised land. I packed myself and my dog into the truck and began the 1,000+ mile journey and the start of the next chapter in my life. Iowa was my destination. A new job, a new life, and a new hunt awaited. By the time I got to Iowa, the green-up had already started. Without important postseason scouting done, I had to rely on glassing bean fields and summertime scouting to figure out where I was going to hunt in the fall. Well, I just slid down off the riverbank right behind me. As soon as I did, I spooked a doe that was bedded right across the river, and I smacked my arm off of stinging nettles, so my arm is burning. As summer ended and the season came around, I had a few spots picked out that I thought could be pretty good for the fall. But of course, like any good old boy from Pennsylvania, I had to get some meat out of the way first. I'm pretty sure I just got a doe down. She's a little quartered too, so I put it real close to that front shoulder, and the other one came back and started looking at her and then freaked out and ran. Got it all tagged up. Unfortunately, like I thought, it was the button buck. But hey, it's gonna eat good, and honestly, this button buck is as big as a Pennsylvania doe. Holy cow, these Midwest deer are big. Wow. That's my doe tag for this county for the year too, so we'll get some better video and pictures once we're back at the truck. The first couple weeks of the season were important. I learned a lot. I spent a lot of time scouting. I found exactly what I wanted to find. Big old scrape right there. And I really learned how to hunt deer in unfamiliar terrain. There's some heavy trails coming off the hill. And I'm going to get up in this tree for the night. See what happens. Unfortunately, as it would come to be, I had a mule deer trip planned for mid-October that would take me hundreds of miles away from whitetails. Buck stepped out, he's beating up some sage over here. He's a big 2x2. Well, we're coming back after a stalk. Jesse was behind the bow, had a decent 2x2, a nice 2x2, and a bunch of does. And unfortunately, it busted us, but in retrospect, the big 2x2 worked off earlier with the doe, and we weren't sure if we were going to shoot the smaller one. So. I lost 10 important days in the middle of October to hunting mule deer, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to fill that tag. When I came back, I quickly shifted from bucks that I had somewhat patterned to planning to hunt doe groups for the rut. Really like where I'm set up here. There's a very heavy water crossing right behind me. There's a fresh, like very freshly hit scrape, probably 70 yards down. And like I said, there's this big water crossing about 20 yards behind me. There's 4 trails branching off. One of them goes right over to that scrape. I got 2 trails right here to my right. There's a bunch of squirrels up in here, and it doesn't show it on the map, but this is actually a lot of pin oaks. Morning, folks. It's early in the morning here on October 28th. Just got shooting light. It's about 30 degrees out. Temps dropped 40 degrees over the last 48 hours. And the bucks are on their feet.
at some point a doe and 2 fawns in the last 2 minutes got right behind me. I could cry and throw up right now at the same time. I just had one of my target bucks at 20 yards frontal. He came down the hill, stopped on the other side of a log because he had to jump over. He was looking, and he saw me because I'm standing there like this with the bow. And he takes a couple steps to the side. He's not boogered hard. Takes a couple steps to the side. He blows, and he takes a few steps. And when he takes a few steps, I draw back. And when I draw back, apparently this morning, my D-loop was twisted when I put my release on, so I drew back. My peep is sideways, the arrow's pinched to hell. Oh, God.
As late October ticked by, I had yet another trip planned, this time South Dakota pheasants with my dad. The unfortunate timing of it, though, was the first week of November. With that first week of November deadline coming up quick, I had to get aggressive. I went to where I had located quite a few doe groups in the summertime, and threw some cameras in early fall, and honed in.
Stand about 25 minutes, and for some reason I'm just doing my intros now. I saw a real nice buck, and then 4.2 does coming in, so it's a good sign. I'm 200 yards or so from where I've been the last 2 nights. I had to change my access because of the wind, but I look at this as a learning experience to kind of tell me if the deer are coming from down here, and if not, where are they coming from? So right. Hey. Yes. Fly right.
Heartbreaking, demoralizing, season ending, or so I thought at the time. But when I screwed up the opportunity on this nice Iowa buck, this mature buck, I thought my season was over. And I didn't know what happened. It wasn't until spring, when I found my arrow while shed hunting, that I realized what happened.
While I was over here, like I said, I missed a buck this year. I decided to see if I could find my arrow. I just found it. It's kicking out a bunch of leaves. And I see the fletchings right there. Let's pull her out. There she be. Too bad it didn't draw any blood. Well, actually, it's a good thing it didn't draw any blood. Shot way in front of it. I don't know why it shot way in front of it, but it shot way in front of it. That's good. Now I can test this arrow. I wanted to test this arrow and see what was up. I tried another broadhead and I hit right where I was supposed to, so I'm curious why the heck this thing flew so weird. I cleaned the arrow off a little, and I know why it flew weird. Broadhead wasn't seated all the way. That'll do it, especially with a fixed blade. Glad to get my trifecta back, though.
Fresh off the sting of the miss, it was time to go to South Dakota for pheasant with my dad. And to be honest, part of me welcomed the mental break after the miss, while the other part of me was dreading missing the first week in November. But no matter what, spending that week in South Dakota with my dad was an absolute blast.
Rooster!
When the trip ended, and I got back to Iowa though, it was time to get serious.
Alright folks, good morning. It's about 15 to 20 minutes after shooting light, and I unfortunately just got set up. I ended up getting set up very, very slowly because of how late I got in. I didn't get to the base of my tree until about 10 minutes before shooting light. So then I wanted to go real slow just in case a deer came in with my bow pull rope attached to me. So if I had to, I could shoot one. And while I was getting the camera arm and everything set up, after I'd already pulled the bow up, I was getting the camera arm set up, and I had 6 turkeys or 6 turkeys fly down in front of me, and a buck run a doe past me. I never got a good look at the buck, so I don't know how big he is, or was. Tickled his rack a little bit and moved on. Cool experience though. Well, I just had a buck I want to shoot, would have shot, come by. Except he came straight behind me. And I didn't hear him coming until he was 25 yards away. And then by the time I grabbed the bow, swung over, he was 5 yards. But he's behind, there's some brush right here. And he's behind the brush. And there's a deer trail that continues. And I'm getting ready to shoot him as soon as he steps out onto that deer trail. That was the plan. And this this sucker goes straight to the left with a tree between me and him, and goes out to the right then, where I have no shooting, right along the creek. I tried grunting at him, tried snort wheezing at him, I tried doe bleeding at him, and he wanted none of it. Big 6-point. Oh, she's hot. Oh, she's hot. He's ready to fight. I just had 3 bucks run a doe past me. Probably would have shot 2 of them. Oh, definitely shooting. I just had a freaking giant come by. Giant. I know exactly which buck it is, too, because I was looking at it on my trail camera. I need to see if I can get him to come here. Oh my god, giant. 5 different bucks chasing 1 doe. Not a shooter. He's gonna get my wind. I wasn't planning on doing an all-day sit, but man, I have seen so many buck this morning, and over across the creek on the private land, I just watched 2 bucks chasing 4 does way out the field. There's actually a small chance that they circle back, cross the creek, and come over to me. One of the bucks looked pretty good. I just hit a nice buck. Really badly. Basically hit him in the back of the neck. He was quartered hard away. And he was closer than I thought. I thought he was at 30. Turns out he was probably 20. Horrible, horrible yardage judgment. Because the arrow hit right where my 20 pin was. It turned his neck a little bit. Right in veins and arteries up there. Maybe I cut something good. Maybe, but I'm not confident. That sucks. That really sucks. He got kicked to me by 2 other hunters leaving the woods. Just to the left of those green leaves, there's actually pretty decent blood right there. Alright, well, it's not great blood, but it's also showing like my arrow came out the bottom of his neck. I'm trying not to get my hopes up yet, but this is a lot of blood. I might have got lucky and cut one of the arteries in the neck. This is a lot of blood. It wasn't pretty at all, and it's totally my fault. Ugly and my fault. But I filled my Iowa buck tag on a nice 10 point. I've never shot a 10 point before. He's not the biggest buck I saw today, but I'm freaking ecstatic, man. I got him. I got him. The good Lord smiled on me. I said a bunch of prayers as I was getting down out of my tree stand saying, please let me find this deer. Please let me find this deer. You gifted me an opportunity and I messed it up. And he's a forgiving God because he got me the buck. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's my biggest buck to date. Biggest buck to date for sure. I got me a 10 point. I got me a 10 point. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy. All right, guys. This is my 2023 Iowa archery buck. It's my biggest buck to date. My first 10 point. He's probably about, 110, 115 inches if I had to guess. So Tyler's behind the camera. He's got some excited buddies trying to call. But he's a good buck. I'm dang happy to put my tag on him. It happened really fast. He actually got kicked up by 2 other hunters towards me. I saw antlers coming out of the brush running my way, and I knew he was a good buck. I drew back, and I basically just kept on him through the peep as he closed from 60 yards to 4, and I meant to try and get him to stop. And he turned and ran to 20, which I was still looking through the peep at that point. I thought he went farther than he did, and I thought he was at 30. And I tried to stick it right at the last rib with my 30 pin, and because I was wrong, and he was actually at 20, I ended up hitting him actually in the back of the neck. The arrow exited out the front of the neck, and I tracked him for about 550 yards until I found him laying in his first bed. Unfortunately, I ended up shooting him 2 more times then. The first one, I didn't know which way he was laying, but I just knew I had to get another arrow in him. I ended up hitting him in the butt, basically broke his back leg. And then the next one after that, he went maybe 3 yards after the first shot, and then that one actually went up through, popped the diaphragm. So it wasn't the prettiest story in the world, and I didn't get any on video because of how fast it happened. But this is my 2023 Iowa archery buck tag, my first Iowa buck, my biggest buck to date, and my first 10 point. So I am really happy to put my tag on him. It was a dramatic story, but it had a happy ending. God was good on this November 12th, 2023. Saw a lot of deer this morning. Pretty sure I saw this guy earlier in the day, and just couldn't be happier. Now I got a good buddy Tyler behind the camera, and we're going to try and get him out of here. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you do, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Follow our podcast on the Move Outdoors. Get some of these sweet Move Outdoors hats. I can't guarantee that you're going to kill a big buck in them, but all I'm saying is Tyler has the exact same hat, and he killed 2 really nice bucks this year, and I was wearing this hat when I killed this buck. So, do with that information what you will, but it's available on our website, themoveoutdoors.com. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.